Hello. Hi, I'm Puffin. Nice to meet you. Thanks for coming. Hello. Hello. Nice to meet you. Hello. Thanks for coming. Happy 420. We can talk about whatever you like. Or we'll talk about stuff. Hello. Welcome. Thanks for coming. Oh, thanks for likes. Thanks for being here. And let's talk. I'm sleepy. Oh, hello. Thanks for coming. We can talk about whatever you like while we can. Otherwise, see my YouTube channel and we can talk about stuff there. But yeah, I really like being on TikTok and being able to talk to people on TikTok. So one thing I want to do is save TikTok in America. And I am too. I don't know what you are too. But yeah, in America, and to keep this app, we should probably do something. And just in general, we should probably do something. But some things could coincide pretty easily. So, hello, welcome, thanks for being here. Thanks for being a pirate. And hi. I'm in Colorado, so happy 420. It was a successful 420 here as far as I've heard. And world's largest gathering on this day. Although I saw a pretty big gathering at the Paris Stock Exchange. So anyway, I saw that on TikTok when I just came on, so I guess that happened today. Also, they're going to have Chief Justice John Roberts before Congress to talk about kicking out Clarence Thomas and hopefully a few other justices. But we'll see how that goes. It could go a lot faster in my opinion, but at least they're getting started. Hello, welcome everybody. Thanks for being here. And hello. Oh, yeah, you too. Oh, you too. Yeah. Well, I might give up on this and go to sleep just because somebody might need the bathroom. So hold on a second. I'll probably stick around. Give me a sec. We'll see. Well. Yeah, but okay. That was very interesting. Hamburger. I didn't know they had. I mean, I'm not really familiar with flavors. I would probably like mac and cheese. I just had some mac and cheese. Like I was in the act of eating some pizza, and there was some leftover mac and cheese. It was like, anyway, it was good. I ate the mac and cheese as well. Hello, thanks for coming. Thanks for your questions and comments and stuff. But yeah, we can talk about anything you like. I'm really excited about world-changing stuff, changing the world with magic and information, and and on TikTok. So I think they're pretty afraid of the world changing stuff that is happening on TikTok, and that's one of the reasons they're trying to cancel TikTok. But I don't think we should let them do it. Half of America is on TikTok supposedly, and more to come. I mean, unless they shut it down, which they can do, but I feel like they should already be getting some backlash for even talking about that, so that they just don't talk about it anymore. Like, if they have to sell TikTok to an American company or make an American company all buy it, you'd probably rather the current owners have it. I mean, I would make it. I wouldn't change anything. No. I can talk a lot about it, but no. I mean, I'm not really into weaponry. I think it's kind of like, how should I say this? It's a lot of compensation, and it's pretty sad in a lot of ways, but just in that way, just as compensation, even if they were just like funny looking sticks that didn't do anything, it would be sad. Hello. Thanks for being here. But yeah, it's gonna change. A lot of stuff's gonna change, because everybody's really against that stuff. We don't realize how numerous we are yet, but there's so many more of us than there are people that are really into weapons. So, and even some people who are into weapons they're perfectly fine, but a lot of people, that becomes something that's really dangerous for, just, again, even if they didn't do anything, even if these objects didn't do anything, it's like having gambling problems and stuff like that. So really dangerous for your mental state, to be that obsessed with objects like that. I'm gonna forget who won Bud Bowl 7 now that you got me distracted. But yeah, and then, the worst things that we can talk about are worse. But I think one of the things that's worse is, even if none of those worst things happen, even if you're not responsible, go Dogs, even if you're not responsible for something worse happening because of that object you own, it just so happens that so many people who believe so strongly in that believe strongly in a lot of other bad things. It's really bad for you to believe, and really bad for everybody else for you to believe. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, well, hey, you're in the right place to cheer up. Somebody was just telling me I seem really sad. I lost my brother about a month ago, a little over a month ago. So I'm sad from that, and been losing my wife for years and years, so sad from that. But I have ridden a scooter. I did have a scooter at one time, and it was cool, like a moped. I had a moped. I would have a moped again if I could have one. Yeah, thanks. Are you sure you're a bulldog? Awesome. Yeah, I love Athens. Hope? Yeah. Wildest Dreams is the only one I've sang on YouTube. Check that out. Jay Bear has invited us to watch his live too. So if this gets boring, there's somebody named Jay Bear on here. In Hope in Life, that's a good question. Okay, hope in life. There's a lot of stuff. Where do I begin? The goddess. I believe in the goddess. I believe in nature. I believe in a revolutionary change in the world where there's no more poverty, there's no more war, there's no more racism. And there's some other things that we don't have anymore of, like patriarchy and oppression and stuff. But poverty, war, and racism, all those are gone. This world could start anytime. We can get started on this new world anytime. And you can't, once you start getting rid of those things, you can't have war. If you can't have poverty, you can't have war, because war is going to make some people poor and have some terrible effects. Um, yeah, I mean, like tomorrow. Like, why not tomorrow? Like, significant parts of it can happen. I mean, today, too, it's the middle of the night here, but things can happen in the middle of the night. Um, and, I've been waiting a long time just for like some simple justice stuff. But like I was starting off this live. This is probably before you got here. They're bringing, what's his name, Justice John Roberts before the Congress to answer for Clarence Thomas, or to answer about ethics questions about shouldn't you resign if you're caught for this kind of stuff. So some changes there. Now, I'm disappointed with the pace of things since Trump left office. I think we should have been full reverse on everything he did as much as possible, pulling his judges out everywhere. But on top of that, if you're having trouble pulling judges off the Supreme Court, pack the court. Like, that's something the president can do. The president can just say 44 justices, like 280 justices. I can find these justices. Let's appoint them. We got a supermajority. Let's go 420 justices. Like, it doesn't matter. There's no limit. You only need 5 more justices, but the court's going to have 16 justices from now on until we can filter through some of these Trumpy justices, or you just pull them off of there. Like, no reason not to pull them off of there. And then replace them. At this point, I think they've shown that they're not going to be true to the Constitution of the country. They've also shown they're going to be true to Putin. Like, let's be real. Putin's behind every one of these streams. I work with 2 different guys. One of them's a 3%er, another one's a QAnoner, as far as I can tell. He's like believes in weird conspiracy theories. And the 3%er guy is so offended when I tell him that he's on the same team with the QAnoner. He's like, we're not on the same team. He's like, y'all were at, I mean, not him personally, but like, y'all's teams were at the J6 together with the evangelical Christians. So part of my hope is the repurposing of Christianity is the most polite way to say it. There's like 1 billion Christians in the world, and there's a prophecy that Jesus gave Judas the night before they were both killed that were, good night, sweet dreams. Let me make sure I follow you. You were very fun to talk to. Thanks for talking with me. Jesus gave Judas a secret prophecy. This was revealed in 2006. They knew about it for 1800 years or so, but they didn't really know what it was. And so now we've known what it is for about 17 years, but nobody talks about it. So I talk about it, and now that you're here, the 12 of you are here, 13 of you are here, we're talking about it. But yeah, it completely changes the world. It's a prophecy Jesus gives Judas about a time that there will be no more war, and there'll be no more patriarchy. Basically, there'll be no more oppressive regimes in the world. And these things coincide with all Christian churches get repurposed to Judas church. So when you think about Christians, which Christian church is the most friendly to Judas, the one that loves Judas the most? None of them come to mind. Or let me know in comments if one of them comes to mind. But there isn't one. And one of the big insights of the revelation about Judas is, if we're wrong about Judas, what else can we be wrong about? And all the Christians that exist today, for the most part, there can be some exceptions, but they were wrong about Judas. And turns out wrong about a whole lot of other stuff. But it all comes together with the goddess. The reason why Jesus gives Judas the secret prophecy is because he's like, none of y'all really know what this is about, and you can't possibly know what this is about. You're not like on the level to know what this is about. In Jesus' words in the Gospel of Judas, he says, none of you can stand before me, or something. None of you, something like that. But Judas does stand in front of him, and then it says he can't look him in the face. But he does stand in front of him. He can stand there. And he says to him, I know you're from the immortal realm of Barbelo, which is like the goddess, like the ultimate goddess. And Jesus is like, okay, now we're talking, like now we can talk. because you know I'm from the immortal realm of, thanks for the likes, by the way. Because you know I'm from the immortal realm of Barbelo, we can talk and have this secret conversation. So we had a secret conversation with him, and he basically, I guess one of the big bombshells from it is he asks him, will you do this? Will you let the authorities know who I am? And so they can, so the rest of this stuff can be fulfilled. And Judas says, yes, I will do that. And then that's kind of pretty much it, which is one of the ways it's like probably something Judas wrote down and passed along, got secretly passed along, and some other people copied it, but something he wrote down the night before that happened to both of them. Because, first of all, it wouldn't make any sense for him to do anything to himself. It's the Church of Judas. It's the Christian religion, final form. This isn't even my final form. Applies to all current Christian religions. And then what I'm talking about is the final form of Christian religions. Because this prophecy Jesus gave Judas, he tells him straight up, you will be hated for what you do. You will be hated for a really long time. He describes a period of time. He says, you will be hated for this really long time. And then, when that time is over, you will be revealed, which did just happen 17 years ago. This Gospel of Judas was revealed. And then your church will replace all the other previous Christian churches. So if Jesus had this conversation with Judas, he knew what was going to happen to his church, which is really the biggest and best proof that Jesus exists on the earth, because some people are in doubt. But that pretty much proves it. If he says to someone 2,000 years ago, hey, this thing we're starting right now, it's going to be used by empires to do the exact opposite of what it's really about. But that progress, after doing all sorts of terrible things, will get overthrown. So, knowing they're going to be wrong, let me know how, because what the Gospels present and how they present things differently comes up. Who questioned Jesus and the woman with the oil? In one of the Gospels, it was Judas. In the other Gospels, it was different disciples. Who was responsible for what happened to Judas and what happened to him? In one of the accounts, it was something to do with a tree. In another account, it was something to do with his bowels. Now, his name, Iscariot, comes from a revolutionary group that would... I don't know how much of this I can talk about on TikTok or how I can talk about it, but the revolutionary group that the Sicarii that he belonged to, may have belonged to, that may be an origin of his name, would disembowel people with secret knives, small secret knives. And that may have been something that happened to him. Because, why do you literally spill your guts like that? But most importantly, something probably happened to him instead of him choosing to do something to himself, because it doesn't make any sense. It's like the way they tell the story, something happened to him before something happened to Jesus. Why wouldn't you even wait to see what happened? If one of the theories for why Judas would do this, well, they talk about that. Yeah, probably. If he knew it was good for him, if he could get his hands on him. So, I mean, that's one way of explaining it. One way of explaining it is Jesus asked him to do it, and Jesus told him, your church will replace all the other Christian churches. You probably have never heard that explanation before, but it makes a lot of sense for why Christianity would have done what it did. It was a trap. It was a setup. It was meant and known from the beginning that it would go wrong. And how did it go wrong? It went wrong with patriarchy. We have another gospel that's not in the Bible, but It's a gospel from Mary, Mary Magdalene, that Jesus appointed Mary to lead the disciples after he was gone. And she has this discussion with the disciples about it, and Peter says, but I'm a man. Because it was a secret, because the other ones didn't understand. If you read the Gospels, you know that they're mostly about how the disciples didn't understand. So there's different levels about what they don't understand. And this is like top level. This is like the final, like I said, it's the final form of Christianity. Now you're in the Church of Judas. You don't have to, thanks for the follows and stuff, by the way. You don't have to stay in the Church of Judas. It's not the Hotel California. You can leave, but now that you know about it, you can't unknow about this idea. And just if you think about it, it'll come true. Like you'll realize, oh yeah, that's true. That makes a lot of sense. Jesus tells Judas these secrets because he knows he's from the goddess. Jesus also tells all the disciples to stop sacrificing animals. Not in the rest of the Bible, but a really huge commandment to say to a lot of people, I think maybe a lot of them were from the same Jewish tradition. And he says to them, stop sacrificing animals. What I want people to do in this world is stop sacrificing animals. And his culture was sacrificing animals morning, noon, and night, or 3 times a day, every day. And he was saying to stop doing that. Now they did stop doing that. I don't know how long that took. Some, hundreds of years later or whatever, they stopped doing that. People don't sacrifice animals anymore. But he was asking for that way back then. So Jesus was ahead of his time by asking people to stop sacrificing animals centuries before they did it. He also was ahead of his time setting up a religion that he knew would be a trap for most people. Now, that doesn't mean that some people didn't get it right, that there wasn't true, love of Jesus and true love within these traditions, but the traditions would all go wrong. And we've seen plenty of evidence of that. No, that's perfectly good. Somebody said the setup for that joke in my life before, but they didn't bother. They never bothered with the punchline. So I just thought it was like, honestly, since it's trolls a lot, I thought it was probably racist or something. But it's like, yeah, that's funny. That's cool. Why do you believe in this form of Christianity? What makes you believe that? Okay, so this gospel was revealed in 2006. Within the gospel, Jesus tells Judas, you're going to be hated for hundreds of years. There's going to be a really long time before this is known. If people hadn't taken a whole lot of trouble to destroy every copy of this gospel, because we knew it existed. We've always known it existed because it's been referred to by people in history have referred to the Gospel of Judas. But they had thought they had destroyed every copy of it by the year 200. They thought there's no copy that exists. But then they found a copy. It's the last text they found from Jesus' time, or last information about Jesus that they found. And as I said before, it was published in 2006. It was actually found in like 1950s, 1960s. But nobody read it. Nobody interpreted it or published it until 2006. But no one's taken it seriously since then. Like Pope Benedict, I think back in those days, said, hey, after this came out, Judas is still a bad guy. Don't believe anything new you hear about Judas. And you can hear about it on TikTok because they can't stop you from hearing about it on TikTok. You can share it with other people and other people can hear about it on TikTok. Or TikTok is kind enough to show people who might be interested in this live. So thanks. It's the final form of Christianity. Jesus gave Judas a secret prophecy that replaces and repurposes Christianity. So there isn't any more patriarchy Christianity, which when you think about it, it's most all of it. And there's no more war. So that's another big part, is these regimes end and there's no more war. It's something that he talks about. He says, hey, there's going to be a time when all this war and stuff comes to an end. But the thing to me that's the biggest proof of Jesus is when he says, these empires will use my religion for all this evil. They're going to do all this evil in my name. And they did. And we have the historical record of them doing that. Patriarchy Christianity refers to pretty much all of it, but Christianity that it all went wrong as soon as Jesus left, right? As soon as they didn't have Jesus in the flesh there to tell them what to do, they took a turn. And he told Mary, you see, and he knew they were going to take the turn. So why would he even tell Mary to lead the disciples if he knew they weren't going to let her lead? To show that that's where they went wrong. To show that, hey, this is where you took the turn to, because in the Gospel of Mary, she says, God bless you too, thanks. In the Gospel of Mary, I'm going to follow y'all as well. He says, I appoint Mary to lead the disciples. But Peter says, well, you can't do that because I'm a man, which is like, just a classic kind of sexist patriarchy. Thanks, you too. Response to say, only a man can lead. Now, Jesus appointed Mary to lead, but we know that the thinking at the time, as is still often the thinking today, they were thought only a man can lead. So that would have been revolutionary right there if they just accepted Mary leading the group, and who knows what would have happened in that condition. Except Jesus knew that wasn't going to happen. He knew that he could appoint Mary, but that they would take it their own way. And that way is patriarchy. It's patriarchy from the very first idea of thinking, well, you can't do that, I have to do that. And this comes back in lots of forms. Now that it's 420, I can talk about that form that came back. Like we have natural medicine, we have a natural plant that has lots of medicinal values, and they make it illegal in order to make you use other things, in order to promote other products and other chemicals and stuff. Now, as we're making it legal and finding out all sorts of benefit from it, we can replace those products and chemicals with something natural and good. But it's been like almost 100 years of it being illegal. And why? The same process. Taking something good, replacing it with something bad, and that's how you get where we're at. But we're turning it back around. So I'm in Colorado where we're at the forefront of turning it back around in that sense. These lost gospels, but the other gospels are wrong. The other gospels are just selected for, like for instance, does Jesus say don't sacrifice animals in any of the other gospels? But if it's something he told all the disciples when they were gathered together, then they all heard it. But that's not the version of the story that got packaged for republication. So that's not what got selected. And this version of the story got destroyed, like actively destroyed. They were like, no, we can't let that side of the story get out there. But the thing is, that side of the story contains Jesus saying to the guy, this is going to be hidden for thousands of years. So that came true. Like that part came true, and even them destroying it made it come true. So Jesus is seeing these things way in advance, and just who else could think of that? We know this was written sometime near when Jesus was alive. We know this was written around the same time as the other Gospels and the other books of the Bible that we have. The goddess is one thing to point out. That God is a lie. God is a lie to replace the goddess. The goddess is what Jesus was about, but the patriarchal religion that was made in his name was wrong. It was wrong in lots of ways. So that's going to be a long conversation. But just essentially, it was wrong to be able to perpetuate war. And Jesus says this will go on for a long time, but then war will end. Just the goddess. It's just a better thing to say. Like the reason why Jesus tells Judas these secrets is because Judas says, I recognize that you're from the immortal realm of Barbelo, which is the goddess, like the supreme goddess above everything. And when I mentioned something about this to my Jewish friend at work, he says, well, in Judaism, it's a goddess. And Yeah, it doesn't get translated that way. People don't talk about it that way, but it is. And so, like, all of these things are missteps from the goddess. But anyway, Jesus says this will get corrupted by empires and used for war. This religion that we're starting will get corrupted by empires and used for. Who would say that? If you're talking to, 20 or a few thousand people who are listening to your ideas about your religion, and it hasn't grown beyond that, it's just not, it's popular or whatever, but who would even, yeah. I think believing in the goddess, like, the thing about the goddess versus God beliefs, a lot of the God beliefs, the things we think about God, are the opposite of the way the goddess actually is. So if, for instance, there's an idea that you might have to, discover God or win God's favor or something, I guess you can discover the goddess and win the goddess's favor. But it's not like a contest. It's not some type of it's not similar to the other things we do in the world where it's like, you solve the puzzle or you win the prize. It's like everybody's welcome. It's like everybody's supported and nurtured, to the best of your comprehension and abilities and stuff. Like, the goddess is there for everyone. It's not hierarchical or judgmental or just not the things that we associate with God. So, trying to falsify you. Yeah, some people try to falsify me. I'm one of those people who gets trolls, so people will use my face and make profiles of me. That's what I would think of when you say falsify me. Bless you too. Thanks for talking with me. Thanks for being here. So, in fact, this is pretty much the best proof on earth that Jesus is real. Because who else would come up with this stuff? Who else would say that? Who would make up a story about, hey, that religion that's kind of growing there, it's going to be used for empires for a few 100,000 years, 100 or 1,000 years. It's going to be used for empires for a couple thousand years and used to do war and a bunch of other terrible stuff. But Jesus called it. He said, all this stuff that's going to be done in my name is wrong and bad, and your church is going to replace those churches. So that's the part that's really exciting, because all these churches have just divided and split into more and more and more and more different churches, and more and more and more and more different types of churches. That's all Christianity's done, is fracture and split and splinter. And it's one way of like a mutating virus that takes on all these different forms to, fit in different places or whatever, and fit in with different people and bring different people into it. But with some false stuff. I guess one of the big ones is a lot of them focus on sin. A lot of churches focus on, it's not that the whole thing's wrong. So one of my phrases I say is, you can keep the baby Jesus, but throw out the bathwater. We have a phrase in America, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. But throw out the bathwater. Don't keep nasty bathwater around. Keep the real thing. The argument about the Trinity, it's it's one of the things that Christians argue about. It's one of the things that makes divisions in Christianity. But the main thing that makes divisions in Christianity is not getting the point. And when the point is not to find out what everybody's sin is and give them prescriptions for their sins and stuff like that, the point is actually to say, hey, we all came together, regardless of what our differences are. We all came together because, thank you, we all came together because there's sins of a system. We're in a system that has problems. And when we come together, we can fix that system. Now, when you think, I love questions. Please ask as many as you can come up with. When you think about Judas and the way Judas is a scapegoat, who did that to Jesus? We blame Judas. Everybody's real quick to blame Judas. But Judas enabled a system that was willing to do that. There was a system that's willing to hurt innocent people 2,000 years ago. Newsflash, we have a system today that's willing to hurt innocent people. We've had Christian churches, more and more and more of them, bigger and bigger and more diverse all the time. How many of them have helped change and bring down the system? They do. Churches do. The civil rights movement in America, churches are very instrumental in bringing down the system. But the system's still there. It hasn't been brought down. We haven't defeated, police brutality or racism in America yet. But we can, and that's the goal. And that's the goal of Christian churches. But wait, when you see examples in our media of Christian churches, I'm not saying they don't exist, they do exist. But when you see examples in our media of Christian churches, are they trying to change this system and take out all the racism? A lot of them are on the side of the racism. So, you can see how off base it can get. And to get it back on base, to get it back on about love and back about Jesus, it's got to be anti-racist. And so it's got to be systematic against the racism in the system. And that's what a big group of people can get together and do. But if instead of doing that, you get the big group of people to get together and obsess about their sins, then they don't do that. And that's been the switch. It's patriarchy. It's unintentional a lot. I'm sure it's intentional sometimes. I'm sure it's like selling out and stuff. That's the trap they put you in about original sin and flaw and all this stuff. First of all, let's just back up. A lot of things that have been called sin in the past are not called sin anymore, and they're called differences, and those differences are to be celebrated. They're not to be ashamed of, and that's the way things actually are. That's the Trinity is the idea of these things all being the same. Different Christians have different beliefs about that. Most Christians have a similar belief about Judas. But when you have a revelation about Judas, that he's not a bad guy after all, he's actually the other hero of the story, then things change. So welcome to the Church of Judas. I think some things are accepting him. Yeah, because you might be held to an older idea of stuff. Most things that are actually bad, like hurting other people, are never really accepted. You can have twisted mentalities that do allow people to accept that more. But one of those has been Christianity, like the idea of hell. My Jewish friend from work says, well, we or some of us believe that Jesus created hell. I'm like, I've never heard a Christian church say that Jesus created hell. And then talking about a little, well, maybe not Jesus, but some Christians created hell. Because hell didn't exist before this Christian church came along talking about it. It doesn't exist in these other religions. And that caught me. I was like, oh yeah, I know I judge a lot of other religions by what I know about Christianity and expect other religions, like what's the hell of this other religion? What's the hell of this religion? But hell doesn't exist. Hell was just created by some Christians. And so the idea that you're saving people from hell, well, you're like, hey, I'm going to do this terrible thing, or I'm going to, invade this country or whatever it is, but we're going to save those people from hell. That idea can enable you to do really terrible things. If hell doesn't exist, then that idea is wrong. And all the things you thought you were doing to help people save them from hell are wrong because it doesn't exist. So that's one of those things. Like, we get caught in those types of traps of thinking. But you'll probably end up thinking things a little bit differently if you pay attention to these ideas. I do think it's what Jesus told Judas. I do think it's the secret plan for the entire religion. I do think it's going to happen. Like, you're talking to the only person on the planet who takes these ideas seriously in April of 2023. that I know of. I mean, some other people. I wrote a book about it. Some people may have read my book, but I haven't talked to them. So I may be the only person currently in the Church of Judas, although I'll let everybody know you're in the Church of Judas. You're free to leave, but now that you know about it, you can't unknow about it. So, yeah, but I'm the only known person in the church. But I believe when Jesus said to Judas, all Christians or all people in Christian churches will be in this church, the Judas church at the end, instead of all the different churches they're in, they're all going to be in the same one church. I believe that's true. I believe that all Christian churches get replaced by the Church of Judas. And they will have, before this time of redemption or repurposing or renewal, whatever you want to call it, these churches will be seen as like trap churches. And after this time, it'll be seen as like the Jesus Judas church, like the real church. Or the church that Jesus and Mary started, that Judas enabled to actually take place. So, yeah, the goddess, remember, I believe in the goddess. The goddess believes all true ideas. Fake ideas aren't true. People believing them can make them seem true. Like racism is a fake idea. It's not true. Because people believe in it, they make it true. Like hell is a terrible idea. It's not true. But people make hell on earth for other people by believing in a hell afterlife that doesn't exist. You see what I mean? What do you think? You'd be a leader? No, I mean, I don't think it works that way because it's not a leadership, it's not a hierarchy leadership position type of church. It's a everybody equal type of church. The only authority in the church is it true? Like some of these ideas are really radical and revolutionary to other Christian ideas. But if they're true, then they have to replace the other ideas, like being judgmental about other people's practices and stuff. Real trendy thing in Christianity, being judgmental about people. Even though, it's in Christianity not to judge other people lest you be judged. But it's still a real big trendy thing. So things got twisted around from some things that, you get back to what Jesus said about stuff, and it fits pretty well with what Jesus secretly said to Judas. I don't see any discrepancies there. I think one of the really interesting ones is the don't sacrifice animals. It doesn't get into any of the other gospels, but it seems like a really strong point he wanted to make. And it makes you think there's probably different versions of those gospels, or each of those other gospels that does make it into the Bible, maybe from somewhat different sources, and they just made sure that they got the sources that did not have that commandment, that instruction. Yeah, I followed you, I think, and follow me, and we'll talk some more. That's cool. I was your 13th follower, which is like Jesus says to Judas, you 13th demon at some point in this conversation. You too, have a great night. Thanks for talking with me. And yeah, I've got content on YouTube or on TikTok about this too. If you just search Church of Judas or click the hashtag of one of my videos that has Church of Judas, it should bring up some other ones. But yeah, I'm glad I got a chance to talk about this stuff. I figured there's a lot of Christians out there. I also figured there's a lot of TikTok users out there because, everybody using this is a TikTok user. And if it's 1 out of every 2 Americans uses this app, how do they think they can ban it? I mean, they can. They can take it off of all of our phones. But why aren't we talking about that and stopping them from doing it? Because this is the most I ever get to talk about these ideas and feel like anybody's hearing me or understanding because you get suppressed on a lot of social media apps. TikTok, I don't feel like so much. I mean, sometimes maybe, but I feel like for the most part, TikTok is very free-flowing and allows people to, allows people to connect. I just sent an invite to somebody who I've seen do really, that would be cool. It just was prompting me to ask somebody, but I thought it was somebody asking to come live. So anyway, nice to meet you. I'm Puffin from the Fairy Liberation Front and Church of Judas and Unicopia. So I made two religions. Or I don't feel like I made the Church of Judas. I feel like Jesus and Judas made the Church of Judas. After reading the Gospel of Judas 17 years ago, I was like, somebody's got to start this. Who's going to start this? But nobody started it. So I was like, well, I guess I got to start it. And so I did. But I opened it up. But yeah, something Jesus and Judas started 2,000 years ago. And the Unicopia Church is a unicorn religion I made because I saw a fake unicorn religion, and I was like, that's not respectful to unicorns. And so I made a real unicorn religion and called it Unicopia. And, I didn't do that entirely on my own, too. I've been informed by, like, fairy stuff all my life, by the Oz books and everything. I look for fairies and everything. And Lady Gaga, especially for unicorn stuff. Pause up, Lady Gaga. I love you forever. Pause up, Lady Gaga. I love you forever. And she's got appointed to an art council to advise the president. So hopefully they'll advise the president to, help save the world and America from bad stuff, bad guys. So I've been talking a while now. Thank you so much for the likes and talking with me. I don't know if anybody else has anything else to say. I would like to talk about anything you want to talk about. But I was going to go to sleep before I did this. And I feel like maybe I've served my purpose by going live and talking about this stuff for a little while. So we got up to 100 people or something were in here at one point. Maybe a couple hundred, but the important thing is talk to anybody. Have anybody understand any of these ideas. So, and maybe one day I'll save my lives and have these things for the future. Kind of wish I was in more of the habit of doing that. But it's difficult enough just getting stuff off my phone onto TikTok and YouTube. And again, if we don't get to see each other on TikTok, which I really think we should do something, Save TikTok Tower is one of the hashtags I make. Save TikTok Tower. But we really should do something to save TikTok, but I'm on YouTube too, so see you there if not here. Thanks for watching. Love you forever. And I'll do the Jesus, Judas, Mary blessing for you, because he goes, God bless you, Mary bless you, Jesus bless you, Judas bless you, I bless you, bless yourself. Love you. See you soon.